You have brought shame to my name, Zawadi. Baba Chuma's deep voice thundered from inside the round mud hut. His words were like stones, heavy and sharp. Zawadi stood in the middle of the small room, her hands trembling. She was only 18, but her stomach already carried the gentle curve of new life. Her eyes were red from crying. Baba, please, listen to me, she begged, her voice breaking. I didn't plan for this to happen. Juma said, Juma? Baba Chuma cut her off with a bitter laugh. That lazy goat? That boy who owns not even one cow? He cannot even feed himself, and you expect me to give him my only daughter? Zawadi's mother, Mama Keto, stood to the side, her hands clasped together. Chuma, she is our child. Where will she go in the middle of the night? Baba Chuma turned on her. If she stays here, the whole village will say Baba Chuma's house is a house of shame. I would rather die than see that day. The kerosene lamp flickered, casting shadows that made Baba Chuma's tall frame look even more frightening. Zawadi's tears ran freely now. Baba, I am still your daughter. Even if you hate what I have done, please, do not send me away tonight. But Baba Chuma's face was hard as rock. He reached under the wooden bed, pulled out a small sisal sack, and threw it at her feet. Take your clothes and leave before the moon hides her face. Mama Keto stepped forward, but Baba Chuma's eyes warned her to stop. She could only whisper, My child, forgive your father. May God protect you. The air felt heavy. Outside, a dog barked somewhere far away. Zawadi bent down, slowly gathered her few clothes and placed them in the sack. She picked up her sandals but didn't put them on. Somehow, walking barefoot felt like less pain compared to what she felt in her heart. When she stepped outside, the cool night air hit her face. She turned to look at her home, the place she had grown up, learned to walk, played in the dust with other children. Now it stood behind her like a stranger. The moonlight caught her tears, making them shine as they rolled down her cheeks. In the distance, the dark shape of the mango tree where she used to sit and shell ground nuts swayed gently in the breeze. She took one slow step, then another, her sack resting on her shoulder. Each step away from the house felt like stepping into a different world, a world without safety, without family. As she reached the narrow path that led out of the village, the wind seemed to whisper through the tall grass. It carried the smell of wood smoke, the laughter of neighbors still sitting around their evening fires, and the sound of her father's voice echoing in her mind. You have brought shame to my name. Her chest tightened. She stopped for a moment and looked up at the moon. God, she whispered, if you can hear me, help me. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how I will live. But please, protect my baby. A soft rustle came from the bushes, making her heart race. She gripped her sack tighter, then forced her feet to keep moving. The path felt endless, the night colder with every step. Behind her, in the compound she had just left, Baba Chuma stood at the doorway. His arms were folded, but his eyes followed her small figure until it disappeared into the darkness. He swallowed hard. For a brief second, his lips trembled, but his pride stood taller than his love in that moment. Inside the hut, Mama Keto sat quietly, tears rolling down her cheeks as she stirred the dying fire. She knew this night would mark their family forever. Far ahead on the road, Zawadi kept walking. She didn't know that this journey, which began with pain, would one day bring her back not as the broken girl who left, but as the woman who would change everything. And somewhere in the shadows of the night, the moon seemed to hide behind a cloud, as if she too could not bear to watch. The night felt longer than any Zawadi had ever known. Her bare feet pressed into the cool, dusty road as she walked, the small sisal sack heavy on her shoulder. The wind whispered through the tall grass, and every sound, a distant owl, the rustle of a lizard, made her heart jump. By dawn, her legs ached, and her lips were dry. She had reached the edge of Kijiji Chumto, a small town that sat beside a slow, muddy river. She didn't know anyone here, but she knew she could not go back. As she walked past a row of small kiosks, the smell of frying mandazi made her stomach twist with hunger. A woman with a round face and a bright blue kidney was sweeping in front of one of the kiosks. She looked up and saw Zawadi. Mtoto wanani wewe? Whose child are you? The woman asked. Zawadi hesitated. I am just looking for work. I can clean, fetch water, anything. The woman studied her for a moment, then sighed. You look tired. Come and sweep my kitchen. I will give you some chai and mandasi. Zawadi's eyes filled with gratitude. Asante, Mama. That small act of kindness became her first lifeline. The woman, Mama Rehema, let her sleep in a corner of the kitchen that night. Zawadi was careful not to say much about her past. She only told Mama Rehema that her parents were far away. Weeks passed. Zawadi's belly grew bigger, and the work became harder. She washed clothes for market women, carried firewood, and fetched water from the river for anyone who would pay a few shillings. One rainy evening, under the dim glow of a kerosene lamp, Zawadi gave birth to a baby girl. Mama Rehema held her hand through every scream and whisper of prayer. When the tiny baby finally cried, Zawadi's heart swelled. She looked into her daughter's dark, curious eyes and whispered, Amani, you are my peace. But life was far from peaceful. Money was never enough. Some days, Zawadi ate only one meal so that Amani could have milk. She learned to braid hair for market women, roasting maize in the afternoons to sell by the roadside. Still, Zawadi was determined. She remembered her father's harsh words every time she felt weak, and instead of breaking her, they became fuel. Amani will not grow up begging, she told herself one night. She will know her worth. 3 years passed. Amani grew into a bright, talkative child. She loved to ask questions, sometimes too many. Mama, where is my grandfather? Does he tell stories like Uncle Baraka in the market? She asked one evening as they roasted maize together. Zawadi's hands froze for a moment. She forced a smile. Your grandfather, he lives far away. Can we visit him one day? Zawadi didn't answer. One hot afternoon at the market, as Zawadi braided a woman's hair, she overheard 2 traders talking nearby. Hey, have you heard about Baba Chuma? One of them asked. Yes, the other replied. They say his farm is dying. His health is not good either. Since his daughter left, he has been alone. Even his goats are fewer now. Zawadi's chest tightened. She didn't look up, but the words stayed in her mind like a drumbeat. That night, as Amani slept beside her, Zawadi stared at the ceiling. Memories of Mawingu village came back, her father's laughter when she was small, the way he used to carry her on his shoulders, the mango tree in their yard. A voice inside her whispered, Go back. But another voice said, He threw you out. He will throw you out again. She turned on her side, pulled Amani close and closed her eyes. Still, the thought of home wouldn't leave her. A week later at the market, Zawadi met Mzee Haruna, an old man with kind eyes and a walking stick. He was buying roasted maize from her stall. Your face is familiar, he said slowly. Are you Baba Chuma's daughter? Zawadi froze. Yes, I am Zawadi. The old man nodded. I know your father. Pride has been his closest friend. But love is still hiding inside him. Sometimes it takes a long journey to bring it out. Zawadi looked down at the maize roasting over the fire. She didn't reply, but her heart beat faster. That evening, she counted the small pile of notes she had been saving for years. It wasn't much, but it was enough to buy new seeds and some tools. Enough to start something again, even for a proud old man like Baba Chuma. She decided she would go back. Not as the broken girl who left in tears, but as a woman who could stand on her own 2 feet. And maybe, just maybe, as a daughter who could heal her father's heart. The sun was just rising over Kijiji Chamto when Zawadi woke up with a decision burning in her chest. The light streamed through the small cracks in the wooden wall, casting golden stripes on the mat where Amani still slept peacefully. Zawadi sat up and watched her daughter's little chest rise and fall. We're going home, she whispered to herself. The words felt strange, heavy with fear, yet light with hope. She rose quietly, washed her face in a small basin, and began packing their few belongings. 2 dresses for herself, 3 for Amani, a worn blanket, and the small leather pouch holding her savings. Every coin had been earned through long hours under the sun, braiding hair until her fingers cramped, or roasting maize until the smoke stung her eyes. When Amani woke, she rubbed her eyes and asked, Mama, where are we going? Zawadi smiled gently. We are going on a journey. You will meet someone very special. Before leaving town, Zawadi went to the market to see Mzee Haruna. He was sitting under his favorite shade tree, slowly peeling sugar cane with a small knife. So, You are ready, he said without her telling him anything. Yes, she replied softly. Your father is a proud man, Zawadi. He may not smile at first, but remember, a hard heart is like dry soil. Sometimes it needs rain and patience before it can grow anything again. Zawadi nodded, holding back tears. Thank you, Mazi Haruna. You have spoken like a father today. The journey to Mawingu village was long. They traveled by a crowded matatu for part of the way, then walked along narrow, dusty paths lined with acacia trees. Along the way, Zawadi bought a small sack of maize seeds and a metal hoe from a roadside trader. She could already see her father's face when she handed them to him. As the sun began to set, they stopped by a small stream to rest. Amani splashed her hands in the water and laughed. Mama, will grandfather tell me stories when we meet him? Zawadi hesitated. Maybe, if he is ready. Amani tilted her head. Why wouldn't he be ready? Zawadi just smiled faintly. You will understand when you are older. The closer they got to the village, the faster Zawadi's heart pounded. Every bend in the path brought back memories, the smell of smoke from cooking fires, the sound of children playing in the distance, the gentle rustle of the mango tree leaves in the evening wind. As they reached the edge of Mawingu, the whispers began. Old women paused in their gossip to stare. Men carrying firewood slowed their steps. Children peeked from behind their mothers' skirts. Isn't that Zawadi? One woman murmured to another. Yes, the one who left in shame, the other replied. But look, she is not crawling back. She walks tall. Zawadi kept her eyes straight ahead. Her hands trembled slightly, but her back remained straight. She held Amani's small hand tightly. Baba Chuma's hut came into view. The walls were faded, and the roof had patches of rusted iron sheets. The once proud compound looked tired, like its owner. Baba Chuma sat on a stool outside, leaning on his walking stick. His eyes were fixed on the ground as he slowly peeled cassava. The years had bent his back and softened his once strong arms. At first he didn't notice them, but when the sound of footsteps reached him, he looked up. His eyes narrowed, then widened. The cassava slipped from his hand and rolled onto the ground. There she was, Zawadi, standing a few steps away, holding a little girl who had his sharp cheekbones and his late mother's eyes. For a moment neither moved. The air felt heavy. Even the birds seemed to pause their songs. Finally Baba Chuma spoke, his voice rough. Why, have you come back? Zawadi swallowed hard. To help you, Baba. She reached into her bag and pulled out the small leather pouch, placing it in his hands. Inside were her savings folded neatly along with the maize seeds and the new hoe. Baba Chuma stared at the items in silence. His hands shook slightly. The little girl stepped forward, peeking at him from behind her mother. Grandfather, Mama says you tell good stories. Will you tell me one? The old man's lips parted, but no words came. His eyes, however, told a story of their own, one that even he was not ready to admit. 3 years apart, one step away from home, and a father who doesn't know if he can forgive. The next chapter will change everything. Part 2 is coming soon. Hit the like button, drop a comment with what you think will happen, and subscribe so you're the first to watch when it's out.